Hello everyone, this is Ron from High-Tech Legion, and what you're seeing behind me is the NZXT H630 full tower case. Now, in terms of sound computing cases for the mid-tower segment, NZXT created the Hush, and then they created the H2, and then they created more recently the H230. Now, the H630 is their first in terms of a full tower offering for the silent computing case segment. And of course, if you haven't got it by the name already, H630 shares the same internals as the Phantom 630, but the difference is that the external appearance is much more subdued, and of course it fits the whole silent and sort of the more streamlined contemporary theme. It's available in white, the one you see behind me, and it's also available in black. And let's just dig in and see what we can find inside. The right side panel is quite plain. There will be no windowed version unless you want to take the Phantom 630, which has a similar side panel size. You can fit that in there if you want a side panel that has a windowed. But for the default H630, will only have a plain side. You can see that there is ventilation similar to the rear here on the side, which is a small strip in there. And you can remove the side panels with thumb screws and just pull it up. See that the other side has full coverage of the dampening material, and just a closer look of how thick that foam is. Here we got plenty of room to work with. The internal is similar to the Phantom 630. Pretty much a basic concept of that, and I've taken also some changes and improvements onto that design. You have some stand-up, actually all the stand-ups are already pre-installed in there for a standard ATX setup. You have also the front connectors in here, which are tied up. Just rattle that off. You can have a HD audio for front panel, and obviously, as you can see, it's plenty of room to route it, still plenty of slack available. You have the USB 2.0 connector, you have the 19-pin USB 3.0 onboard header, and you have another USB 2.0 front header. You have power LED, power switch. The power LED is the dual pin one, so you can install it even on the triple designed LED setup for some motherboard designs. Some don't have the power connector side by side, so you can actually split them. And you have the power switch, you have the HD LED, and the last one is the reset switch. And as for the fan connectors, you have a 3-pin connector here and a Molex power. And we'll see that what that is connected to here in the rear. I'll show that when we get to it. As for the other areas here, you have a 5¼ drive bay area. You have 1, 2, 3 3.5-inch drive bays. 2 of the top can fit 3, the one at the bottom as well, while the middle one can fit 2 3.5-inch drive bays. They can also fit SSD drives depending on how you mounted them, and also one at the top, one at the bottom have these. We've seen these on the Phantom 810 initially. I think I first seen them there. And they have these adjustable mounting areas for a fan, either a 120 or 140 millimeter fan. And also there's a 200 millimeter fan pre-installed in their front. And also, if you look closely, you can fit a radiator in there if you remove all of the drive cages. And you can also fit a radiator here at the bottom. There's actually a area here where it provides that clearance already right under the right side panel. It is quite plain, and removed the thumb screws already, so let me just remove this so I can show you tight air. Similarly, some dampening material there, full coverage rather, and start here with the connectors for where those wires were leading to. You have I believe this is an on and off for the LED switch. You have your headphone jack, your microphone jack, and you have a pair of USB 3.0 ports, a pair of USB 2.0 ports, and an SD card adapter, SD card reader. And right on the side you get perforations for the air to be drawn in by the 20mm fan right at the front. And at the bottom you have a box of accessories here. And I mentioned the hub earlier. Here at the back as a connector, and it actually is also screwed in place now instead of the Velcro option of the A10, because I had the A10 as well, and the Velcro just kind of came off after it gathered enough dust. So this way, this screw is a lot more secure, and you can actually fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 3-pin fans onto that and control it, since it is a very big case and you're going to be installing a lot. You have a lot of fans in there and you have plenty of cooling options. So removing the cage, you just need to remove these. They are quite tight right now, so you're going to need a tool. You need to remove the thumb screws and locking them in place so you can pull each one of them out. When you're installing a drive inside the H630, you basically have two options for 2.5-inch drive and the regular caddy for the 3.5-inch drive, which does not require any tools to use. You just basically align you can see the markers there, to your drive, and gives you enough flex there for the caddy to put it in place. And once you've done that, you just make these slide like that. Here is the finished sample. And for 2.5-inch drives, you have two options. Either you have the mounting here at the back of the motherboard tray. You need to use screws for both of these. This one is secured by a thumb screw side. You need to screw the 2.5-inch drive in place in those four corners. And then, of course, once you've done that, you just slide it in place and lock it with a thumb screw. As for the 2.5-inch placement, here's the caddy. You can see the mounting holes in there. I'll just show you it. 2.5-inch drive there. There's no clearance issue with installing it on this side as well, because there's enough clearance there to put in your cables, so it's not being blocked or anything. You can also install it the other way, where there is also no clearance issues in when you mount it on that side. Also, you have a very large cutout here for your aftermarket heatsink backplate and plenty of room for cable management. Let me just quickly take my ruler here, use the centimeters, and it's about 3 centimeters of space. On the front you have an LED indicator and a pair of 5¼ inch external drive bays. In order to access these, you have to remove the entire front panel. In order to do that, you could pull from the bottom, and also, after you've done that, pull from the top as well. So you can, let's see if we can pull it out. There. Since it's new, it might take some effort. There you go. And there we go. And see there that the covers are screwed in place, so you're going to need a screwdriver to remove this. These are actually solid metal, quite thick, and underneath that also noise dampening material, same thickness, quite thick, and the sides have the ventilation area, and this is actually removable. This is essentially for maintenance. You can remove that essentially as a dust filter. And once you have removed the front cover, clearly see now you have access to the installation of 5¼ inch external devices, and also you have access to the installation of either a various combination of fans, where you see a 20mm fan here already pre-installed. You can also install a secondary one right on top of it. It's compatible with both the 147mm and 152mm fan mountings, because one of NZXT's fans don't use the typical 20mm mount support, but these ones already actually support both distances, so you should be fine. And also you can see 3 120s there, or a 360mm radiator right in front. And if you need additional thickness, you can again remove the hard drive cage, and also 2 140s or a 280mm radiator. Very flexible, and you can see the way the mounting is. It's not the standard round mount. This is actually the flexible mount for the 280. So that means you can fit both. You should be able to fit both the 15mm and 20mm radiator rather. There's no standards for 280mm, so both 15 mil and 20 mil will be able to fit in there. After you've removed the front panel, you can install an optical drive and the 5¼ inch slots. You have 2 in here, and all you need to do with this device is just flip the switch right here to unlock it, and then slide your device in place. Of course, make sure to remove the cover from the front panel before you're proceeding. These are held in place with screws. You're going to need a screwdriver, and then you have your optical drive aligned in proper mounting hole. You just lock it in place, and NZXT suggests to add 2 more screws on the other side, since this only locks here on behind the left side panel. So you want to strengthen it further by adding screws to the right side. The top has a very plain design in terms of ventilation. Actually, it is on to the sides here, but it also has the same flexible mounting support for fans and radiators as the front, and you still need to remove the cover as well. So it's actually very cool, the fact that you can use the design of the H630 itself as a sort of a handle here to kind of push it upwards and remove that cover. Very convenient, see there. And it also has that noise dampening material covering the entire top area, same thickness, and you have the ventilation there. Better look this time in the rear and onto the side, and same flexibility. You have, looks like you can fit 3 120s or a 360mm radiator. You can also adjust them, unlike the front side for 360, for the front panel for the 360, you can move them up or down depending on the clearance. Here in the front, maybe you could put a reservoir here in your 5¼ inch drive bay, a small one, so you can maybe move it back for a 360 radiator. You can also install a 280mm radiator or 2 140s with the same flexible mounting support there. It's not the static mount. You can move it to the left or right. Also, similar mounting for the fans, 20mm fans, pair of 20mm fans there with the support for regular 20mm fans, and also the NZXT mounting hole, which they have the 142mm and the rather 148mm and 152mm 20mm mounting fans top. At the bottom, you'll find 2 removable dust filters, one for the power supply in the rear, and another one for the optional radiator mounting area or dual fan mounting area. The area right here in the front is actually solid. Air cannot go through there. And there are 4 feet which have rubber soles and elevated about 2.5 centimeters off the ground. At the rear, you'll find a 140mm fan pre-installed, and the way it is installed, you can actually move it up or down because of the mounting holes there. There's also perforations here in the side, but it's not the typical honeycomb mesh, but it's rather a more straight pattern. And as for expansion slots, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9 PCIe expansion slots, and the power supply mounting area is at the bottom. And both of the side panels have these convenient handles, so you can pull them out easily, and they're held in place by thumb screws. At the top area here, there's also a little bit of ventilation for exhaust, or depending on how your setup is, for intake. Alright, so this is what it looks like here behind the left side panel. You can see that everything is very clean. All the cables are routed accordingly, and I have a GTX 770 installed there. But even if you install a GTX 690 or HD 7990, you can see that it will clear that without an issue. There's about 14 inches there from the left side to the end of that tip, so you can pretty much fit any video card currently available in the market. Plus, even if you install a fan on the top part, you can angle it so it's not blocking the way. This motherboard in particular, this is the P9X79WS. The PCIe expansion slot at the very top sits a little higher than most, so most people will probably be able to align at the bottom. Plus, if you need, in case you need something longer, you can just remove the hard drive cages for your convenience. And also plenty of room there. You can even fit an XL-ATX case. This power supply, rather this motherboard is actually slightly wider than SR-ATX. It's one of those CEB form factor motherboards. But if you have a XL-ATX motherboard, you can extend all the way down there it will actually fit. It is compatible. There are mounting holes there, but obviously you'll obscure the cable routing area right below that. But other than that, plenty of room. I only have an H100 right on top, but you can fit 240 or 280 millimeter radiators, 360 millimeter radiators. You can also fit one at the bottom and one in the front as well, with thicker ones. If you want to remove the entire hard drive cage, remove this cover right here. If you want a thicker radiator, all the way to the as thick as you can, pretty much. And you can also support a 360 radiator. Definitely plenty of options out there for the power users. So there's what it looks like here on the right side panel. Clear to see that there's plenty of space for cable management. The fan hub here makes it very convenient to connect all the fans. Actually, the two fans that are pre-installed are already connected there. Just move the hub there closer together so it's easier to manage. There's also plenty of room there. I like that there's loops here for the 8-pin connector as well as the bottom. Now, there were no grommets here at the bottom here, but I didn't really mind. Mostly, especially if you're just routing power supply cables that are thicker, you don't really need grommets. Grommets are usually just for the thinner cables so that they're held in place, such as SATA connectors there, or your front panel connectors or your audio cables. That's why there's grommets in those critical areas. So for the cable routing areas where the thicker cables will pass through, they're not really necessary, so I didn't mind that. And you can see there that there's plenty of room for the SATA connectors. Now, I mentioned that on my installation of the drives there, that 90-angle SATA cables are perfectly clear. There's no issues there for installing it onto your drive, but as you can see, because of the nature of the way the SSD drive sits there with the hard drive caddy, it actually it's impossible to fit a 90-degree angled cable in there because it is directly right in the middle. So you would have to use a 90-degree angled cable as well as a straight cable as well as a straight connector, or the tip of your power supply connector when you're plugging in an SSD right at the top of that when installed into the hard drive caddy. And we are now going to take a listen to the noise performance and also just take a look at the benchmarks and conclude our review of the H630. NZXT has done it once again. They have a winner in the H630. Not only do they offer the H630 at a very reasonable sub $150 price, but it can also compete with other sub $150 full tower cases in terms of build quality. Compare the H2's build quality with the H630, it's definitely a miles ahead in terms of that. The H630 and H2, not just in terms of size, but in terms of feature set as well. The fact that you can fit 360 millimeter radiator on the top and at the front, and the fact that you can have modular hard drive cages, you can move them around, you can remove them completely, and you also have the excellent build quality and the very excellent cable management option available. Now, they've removed the fan controller from the H2 into the H630, but that is understandable because the H630 still has a fan hub, which is a lot more useful when you have a lot of fans installed, especially if you have a lot of fans that are installed on a radiator. The difference, of course, is that the H2 only has a 3-channel fan, and the amount of fans you're going to have in the H630 doesn't make sense to have only a 3-channel fan controlled built-in fan controller in there. So that is a lot better to have the hub pre-installed inside. And also there is also the SD card reader that we've seen on the 810 and other full tower cases from NZXT. Quite useful. It's pretty much just a bonus feature, and it retains the LED light that we saw on the previous I believe the Phantom 810 was the first one to have that. I'm not sure if the original Phantom Tower had that feature, but it has that very convenient for the I/O lighting. Now, I wish one wish I've had with the NZXT feature was to have that lighting as well for the USB hub in the front. So that's because I tend to compute to be in front of my computer when it's late at night, and I do a lot of plugging into front panels. So I would have wished that there was LED lighting for the front panel as well, but I'd take the rear. They're pretty much the only one offering that feature currently. And also in terms of functionality, I loved everything. Very convenient to install, but one thing I noticed was the hard drive caddy was a little fragile in terms of the way it bends out. As I showed earlier, there was some cracks in one of the caddies, just a minor hairline crack. And my concern is that, of course, over time, after swapping out different components for several times, it could eventually get damaged. And I love the older version, which was a lot sturdier in terms of looks, but it had compatibility issues with the clearance. So that's kind of the trade-off with the hardware mounting mechanism. So hopefully in the future, NZXT would settle down with something a lot more solid. Plus, using those little locking things with the rubber round, I don't know what they call those, but I find those really annoying. I hope case manufacturers would stop using those and just have like a built-in plastic latch. I think those are more secure. I don't think it really dampens a lot of the hard drive noise anyway. It's just that it's been used in a lot of cases, and I think people are just integrating it on cases because it's been around for so long now. As for everything else, definitely, I didn't even measure the CPU cooler height compatibility, but every time you have 140 millimeter fan pre-installed at the back, that means you pretty much have clearance for all the tall coolers. I think I measured it was about it's taller than 180 millimeters, so there's really no issue. And that's pretty much it. I didn't really have a concern in terms of the lack of airflow. It looks like it because the front only has that little strip of ventilation there, and also the fact that the exhaust also at the top has that noise dampening material blocking it, and only the sides and and part of the rear has that exhaust area, but not really a concern too much because it's kind of something that you would expect as a trade-off for the silent computing. And that's pretty much it for this review. I elaborate more on my written part of this review, so just click on the link below if you want to read more about this case. And also you can click you can just click below as well for the links to our Facebook, facebook.com/HCL-reviews, and links to our Twitter at twitter.com/hightechlegion, and link to our forum at hightechlegion.com/forum. And once again, this is Ron, signing out.